It's Sunday night and it means Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. So, how do you get Etrigan, the demon, to stay in shape?
Uh,
You exorcise him often.
oh man.
The greatest DC comic show on YouTube brings you another edition of Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. Welcome to it. I'm Ryan Magic Lasso, and I'm so happy that you're here with us today. Tony, Tony Fett, Signature King Tony should be joining us momentarily. But Tim, the comic collector, he is in an unexcused absence again this week.
Oh my God.
I know. I mean, so much trouble. Comic Food 2814, who is a regular person on this show, regular host on this show, he's not here. But this week, he has an excused absence. And you want to know why?
Why?
Because I spent Friday with him. I finally got to meet Comic Food 2814 this past Friday. And he was up in my area here in the Midwest in Wisconsin. And he stopped by. And we had so much fun that I gave him an excused absence for the show today. So he could rest up and hopefully be back maybe as soon as next week. Maybe. We'll see. So, but in its place, I'm so excited to have a special guest with us. Oh, let's check in. He's here now.
Sorry.
Signature King Tony is here.
I made it.
What's up?
What is going on, everybody?
You just made it.
Yeah.
Better late than never, right?
That's right. Well, Tony, let me end our chat, introduce you to our special guest this week. I'm so excited that he is on Fanboys Live in the Retro Review because I was telling him backstage that he was on my list of people that I really wanted to do a show with or collaborate with or do some type of a project with because I'm a huge fan of him and his wife. But it's Kachoong. It's Dave. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you again for coming on. For someone that's not familiar with you or Delphia, tell us a little bit about you two and your channel.
So I don't actually do any content on my channel per se. We did it. We did it in the past with Delphia's channel, DK Comics and Cosplay. We did a lot of cosplay, and we do. It's been a while, but because of the pandemic, we kind of hit the pause button on it. And that's kind of originally what got us into streaming and getting connected with the comic community. And also watching a lot of YouTube videos of the comic community, just getting involved with the chat. And then eventually we decided, hey, let's just do something of our own and stream a few videos. So we showed a bit of cosplay and we showed some AOK unboxings and things like that. But it has been a while since we cosplayed, and we probably should get back into that.
Out of all of the cosplay that you've done already, what has been your favorite? Your personal favorite?
My personal favorite was probably the latest ones that we did. We built a Bleeze for Delphia, and I did a Laughley's.
Okay.
Nice.
And we were part of a huge group that each of us had a different color of the spectrum. And so we each created a character on all the different emotions. And when we came together, it was just spectacular.
I bet. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm also excited to actually get you and Tony together on a stream because you two very much have very favorite characters that are similar to each other, especially in DC Comics. So tell us about some of your favorite characters, even if they're not DC, or what your collection is like.
Me?
Yeah.
So yeah, my favorite character is Captain Marvel, which is Captain Marvel. He's my Marvel. I have a pretty deep connection with him for a number of reasons. I actually did a stream with Tony Old Wolf a few weeks back on his 24-hour, and we talked about the death of Captain Marvel, which is a pretty powerful book. I got really into comics mainly through Aliens and Predator in the late 80s, early 90s. And Spider-Man 1, McFarlane Spider-Man, was what really got me into starting to collect comics. And I really jumped straight in, though, into Magic because I'd done a lot of Dungeons and Dragons as a teen
Mm-hmm.
growing up. That Magic was really a big part of my interests and fantasy and sci-fi. And so my other favorite characters are Dr. Fate, which I have right here,
Yep.
and the Demon.
Etrigan, yes.
Yep.
Nice. And
Very
Also,
underrated.
Doctor
Yeah.
Strange for Marvel. I really like
Yeah.
Doctor Strange.
That's great. So we'll tie into the Demon Etrigan a little bit in our retro review coming up. But first, let's say hello to some folks who have joined us in the chat. John's Comics with Kids is here. He's happy that we're all here, but especially you, Dave. So that's cool. And then he says, what's black and white and black and white and black and black? And that's a penguin rolling down a hill. Now, what type of person comes into a live show and just tells a joke from the beginning? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Isn't that my job?
I have
Yeah.
no idea.
James is here as well. He's saying hello, and we say hello back to you, too. John's saying that your Moon Knight and Dr. Fate helmet are epic. Very cool.
Nice.
And D&D. Now, Tony, you're a little bit of a cosplayer. Any questions you have for Dave?
If t-shirts count as cosplaying, then yes.
Oh, I thought people were always telling me, Tony, that you were cosplaying as Harley Quinn.
You heard wrong.
Oh, I must have heard wrong on that.
Very wrong, sir.
Okay.
No, but sounds like our what is it? Gosh, the name escapes me. Not Justice League Dark. Gosh, what is it? Shadow Pact.
Mhm.
Sounds like we're both big fans of the potential of Shadow Pact.
Nice.
And Justice League Dark, of
Mhm.
course. But
Absolutely.
everyone loves a good Shadow Pact story.
Yeah. So we say hello to our great friend, the comic book G-Spot. Good to see you here. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate
G-Man.
that. I have left links for everyone, even the fanboys that didn't show up this week, and our special guest, Kachoong. I've left links in the description for this video as well. So, Tony, I guess we'll get started with DC Comics news. Let's just start out. Try to be as spoiler-free as you can. How was Shazam 2?
I liked it. I really did. I thought it was really cool. Did you see it, Ryan?
I haven't. I'm thinking I'm going to go on Tuesday.
Non-spoiler review. Darla stole the show. She's so funny.
Okay.
She's the youngest of the Shazam League, so
Yep.
it really shows. She's pretty naive and it's really funny.
Okay. Now,
So
Dave, will you get it? Is that something that you think that you'll see, or the new Shazam movie, or?
I will, but only when it comes to streaming.
Okay.
we
Which
haven't
actually
been-
probably won't be too much longer because they stream them pretty fast these days.
Yeah, we saw the Black Adam movie not too long ago when it came to streaming, and we don't mind
Awesome.
waiting. We don't really like going to the movies anymore.
Yeah. That's why I kind of waited. I thought about going this weekend, but then I thought, if I go on Tuesday, like Tuesday afternoon, I might have the theater to myself.
Yes, if anyone goes to see it after they see the show, there are 2 end credit scenes.
Okay.
So end credits, a scene, some more credits, and then another scene. So make
Ooh.
sure everyone in the theater left at one point. It was just me and my wife sitting there watching the credit scene. No one gave it
Wow.
up, or maybe they didn't know it or what, but both it's kind of hard, because we don't know where the DC universe movieverse is going.
Yeah.
But the setup for both of them are huge.
Yeah.
But it's up in the air at this point. So
That's right. Let's say hello to Barbarian Kung Fu. He's saying, "What's up, Dave?" So good to have you stopping by, my friend.
Who's a good buddy?
So while I haven't had the chance to see the Shazam 2 movie, this past week, Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods #1 came out, which is the Wonder Woman Shazam crossover. Got that, read that, and loved it. It's very Wonder Woman heavy, at least in issue 1, but I really liked it.
One thing, just based on the covers, like you'd think they'd have more emphasis on the two of them, or at least there'd be one cover with two of them on it.
Yeah, and there isn't.
There isn't the single cover with both of them on it. It's one or the other.
Yep.
And I think the B cover has Mary Marvel on it for some reason.
Mm-hmm. I think it does too. So
I've heard the art in those is really colorful.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was good. There's actually 2 stories in there. The second story I liked even better than the first story. So
Is that the Young Diana? Are they continuing that?
no, they're not. And that was in Wonder Woman's regular title, and they're taking a little break on that. Even in her backups, it's going to be, I think, some Mary Marvel to tie in with this Revenge of the Gods. But
interesting.
Really love that. We'll say hello to Jean Malo. Love your new avatar pick there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So do you think they're bringing a lot of that content into the comics because of the movies that are coming out with Shazam and
I think so.
Black Adam?
Yeah,
I mean the movies are supposed. I mean, they're saying the movies are supposed to be closer to what the comic books are now.
Or they change in the comic books to more to the movies, so then they could say that either way.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So speaking of movies, as we segue more into news, did you guys hear who has seen the new Flash movie in its entirety?
Yes. The legendary Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, and he loved it.
In fact, he loved it so much. What did he do? Do you remember?
He contacted the director to just...
More than that. Than that. He also did that. He went all the way up. All the way up.
He wants to be in one.
I bet he does.
I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that, but yeah, you're right. He saw it, he loved it, and he went all the way to James Gunn and Mr. Zaslav even and said, "This is the movie." Which there is a conspiracy theory about that.
Okay.
We know that Mr. Cruise is a huge Scientologist, so wherever you fall, yay or nay on Scientology, whatever. But Ezra Miller recently joined the Church of Scientology.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's it. I didn't know that.
Within the last, very recently, 2 to 3 years at most. So super recent. So he may have an interest in. This is the conspiracy theory part of it. Like,
so you're saying there might be hidden motivations there?
Yes, there might be hidden motivations. So who knows? Or maybe he just really loved the movie. That's also possible, and he just wants everyone to know he really liked it, which is very possible.
Yeah, I think what Barbarian is saying here is very true. My personal opinion is, I mean, you have these characters that have been around for decades upon decades. You should draw from the best stories that have ever been told on these characters and make those into a movie. But I get the marketing looks at it and goes, no, we have to have it so, because that's what they were doing before, at least in Marvel, And then people would go buy the comic books, and the comic books weren't anything like what the movies were, because the movies were based on old comic books.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's funny you brought that up. There was a popular movie reviewer. They were saying, oh my gosh, the Avengers. I'm going to go read some Marvel comics because I've never read any before. They go to local comic book store. None of those characters are in the Avengers. You have or like really weird versions of them. Like I forget, Amadeus Cho, the Hulk, wasn't not Bruce Banner Hulk, so it was really weird. It was a little bit personality difference there. So, but yeah, I've heard that echoed before.
Yeah,
they were completely different.
Yeah. What else is going on, Tony? DC Comics news wise this week?
James Gunn. What I like about James Gunn is he really shoots things down, like if they're not true, or he doesn't really confirm things. But sometimes he just gives us things, and that's what he did. So he made a tweet today that, and the actor who plays that character also had a very similar tweet less than 24 hours prior, and that was Idris Elba's Bloodsport is confirmed somewhere in the James Gunn universe. And so is Deadshot, Will Smith, and Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn are all somehow involved somewhere. I don't know where. Maybe another Suicide Squad movie. That would be really cool. Because we do know that Amanda Waller is back. Or maybe they'll tie into Waller somehow. Because I think that was the name of the show, was just Waller. So that's a bit of good news.
Yeah. Hello to Just a Little Podcast. Link.
Cookie.
People are saying that Shazam sequel was a bust. It made $30 million opening weekend. But that's okay. I didn't think that was a bust.
It's not bad.
Was it number one?
I don't know. I don't know what it was competing against.
I'll try to look, because I mean, I know this movie's been out for several weeks, but if Cocaine Bear did better than Shazam 2, we're in trouble.
Well, I think the title of the movie alone draws people.
Yeah. Right. Hey, I was telling Kachoong at the beginning of the show that I met Comic Fu on Friday, face to face. And I think it was the day before, or maybe 2 days before, he went to Cocaine Bear.
Did he say he liked it?
He said it was what you would expect it to be, and he was embarrassed to live in Tennessee after watching that.
Oh, does it take place in Tennessee?
That's what I guess it takes place in Tennessee.
I heard that movie's loosely based off of a few true events.
Yes. All I know is the Cocaine Bear's Twitter account is hysterical. So if you're not watching that, there's some good things. Boy, Black Swamp Comics has checked in to see us. Good to see ya. Also, poor Mike is
squares?
Here. Yeah. Hope you're doing well, friends.
He's calling us squares. But you see, the sequel is now Meth Gators in Florida.
Oh, gosh.
Nah, I have no idea.
Drunk pandas.
Drunk pandas.
Drunk panda.
They canceled the Robin that was coming out in June.
Oh.
Well, I forget which Robin it was. I think it was not Jason Todd. I forget who it was. I'll have to find the article again. But whatever that Robin solo title that was coming out was canceled. Tim Drake, I think is what it was. Tim Drake. And people are in arms about it, that it's been canceled. Because it was Tim Drake was going to be. I got a visitor here. What are you doing in here? I thought you were sleeping. I guess Tim Drake was supposed to be gay, I think, and then they canceled it. I don't think that's why they canceled it. What do you got going on?
Gotcha. Let's say yeehaw to yeehaw. Thanks, Michael, for stopping by.
My dog, come on. What are you doing? She likes to go into my desk for some reason. Be surprised how many shows she's been a part of. No one knew it.
Yeah.
Oh, you would know it if my dog was here, because he snores. He's a pug, so even when he's breathing, you know he's there.
Yeah. She's a runner when she sleeps, so it's weird.
That is funny.
That
what
is.
did you lay on? Your fur's all messed up. Maybe the kid's got syrup fingers. Yep, that's the dog. She's
circling
old.
Before she lays down.
She's old. She's like 10, I think, 9 or 10, 150 pounds. So,
wow.
Whatever. English Mastiff.
Yeah. Tony, I hope it's okay that I say this. I remember off air one time you were talking about the dog, and you said this dog has gone from being chained to a tree to having health insurance.
Yep. She's a rescue, and they found her. Some hunters found her and another dog just chained to a tree out in the middle of the woods in Ohio. I mean, she was absolute skin and bone.
No.
And then, they rescued her, went through the rescue, and we ended up adopting the dog. And then, yeah, like you said, now my dog has health insurance, a king size bed,
yep,
food on demand. So I mean, she went from rags to riches.
So Shazam is the #1 box office movie.
Very
Have
cool.
that confirmed at $30.5 million this weekend. Number 2 is the Scream 6 movie at $17.5 million.
Well, if they're saying Shazam is a failure at $30 million, then they have no right to say that Scream 6 is a box office hit if it can't beat Shazam.
Yeah. Cocaine Bear was number 6. And it got some of Comic Foo's money, so that helped propel it up there.
But I like Shazam. I think if you're a DC Comics fan, you're just gonna enjoy it for what it is. The Daughters of Atlas were really fun to watch. The casting on those is great.
That's awesome.
It was really fun. Yeah, it's definitely enjoyed it for sure. Darla stole the show.
That's
so
what she said. So
get ready for some laughs, because it shows how naive she is. Especially like the opening scene. It's just really funny how kids act.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil the scene for you, but I'll spoil a line. The father of the Shazam family, he's got an electrician in there, and it's like right in the beginning of the movie. And he says to the electrician, like, my house keeps getting hit by lightning. Like, I don't understand. And the electrician's in the background, he's like flipping all the switches and he's trying to fix stuff, and there's like, what? And then, I won't spoil the next scene, but all towards the end of the movie, like, he figures it out, and he's just like, you can see him thinking like, I wasted all that money on the electrician. See, like, everything's clicking and pieces are falling together.
Yeah. I tend to have a feeling that my favorite part of the movie is going to be towards the end.
Yeah, and it's not an end credit scene like I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
It wasn't what I was hoping it was,
but
it's still good.
Awesome.
And I wish they would have elaborated on that, because one of the characters in the movies, along with Shazam, is one of the gods she prays to. They don't even have any dialogue. They don't even look at each other.
Gotcha.
So it's like, imagine like seeing Jesus and you don't even like give him a high five or a fist bump. You just like leave.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. But you could tell like they had to edit it way down or just completely reshoot it because you could tell it was like missing something. You know what I mean? Like,
gotcha. Well, that's for the director's cut.
Yeah, maybe for the director's cut. But it was really good.
Yeah. And I do agree with what John's saying there.
Yeah, money doesn't equal quality. Yeah, I've seen some horrible movies that had huge budgets and make lots of money that were just awful. But
yeah. What else is going on news-wise?
Just a lot of solicitations coming out for DC. Nothing we already didn't know, really. A new Titan's coming out, I guess, so get ready for that. Kevin Smith is writing another book for DC, but it doesn't say which one yet, so it's, I guess, still working that out. And then a whole bunch of hot garbage for articles. A lot of speculation.
Kachoong, are you buying any current DC regularly, or is there anything on a pull list for you? Or
no, not right now. I did get the Justice League Dark, which I thought was really good. Tinian did amazing, and he handed it over to who did he hand it to? Ram V.
Yes.
Yeah, and he took it the reins pretty well, but that was kind of the last DC I jumped into. I did see that Dr. Fate's helmet is floating around, sitting on tables, and Danger Street, it's sitting on the table, and it was there with Batman grabbed it, which I don't know. I was too happy about that. I wasn't that happy about Batman grabbing Dr. Fate's helmet.
I heard some people say that same thing too.
I would have hoped other people would have got a chance, but
yeah.
Man.
Hello to Kenneth Bird. Also, Barbarian asking, I think Kachoong, you just mentioned this a while ago. You did see the Black Adam movie.
I did. I loved it.
Yeah, it was good. I'm also upset at the Black Adam movie, knowing that those two characters, Black Adam and Shazam, will never meet. Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so stupid.
Yeah, Kent was cast brilliantly with Brosnan.
Oh yeah. Pierce Brosnan. Oh yeah. Like, that was a home run cast.
Yeah.
Like, he was doing this interview on the press release, and I guess his kids are big DC guys. And when he told his kids, like, hey, like, they've asked me if I wanted to play this character, Dr. Fate, like, do you think I should? And his kids saw it, like, he was like full of it. Like, They're not asking you to play Dr. Fate. It had to show them like, yeah, look, here's the lines, whatever, here's the script.
Wow.
And they had like go back to comics and video games, and they're showing him all this cool Dr. Fate stuff, and he's like, oh, that does sound pretty cool. Like it's Indiana Jones, but magic.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice. Well, as we segue into the retro review, we let our special guest decide what we're retro reviewing tonight. And actually, I have to take that back a little bit. So sometimes, I don't know how I screwed this one up. I thought Etrigan, the demon, was your number one favorite DC character. And it's not. It's one of your favorites.
I must have talked about it too much.
You must have, because I thought that would be a great character for us to use on the retro review, because we haven't done anything very much with this character. So I kind of approached you and said, let's do this character. Which stories should we do? So that means you're owed a return trip if you survive this one and want to come back sometime where you can completely pick the character and or books. But I did let you pick the books. And what I love that you did, you didn't just pick a storyline or some consecutive issues, but that's okay for those that do that. You picked 3 different stories from different time periods. And I love that you did that. Tony, while you're pulling up the assist,
yep.
Dave, tell us a little bit about the first book, which I'm going to do the retro review on, and why you picked The Demon, Volume 1, number 7.
Yeah, so number 7 is the introduction of Clarion the Witch Boy.
Yep.
And I think it's one of the better of this series. There's 16 in this first series. And Clarion really extends through so much content. You see him in animated, and he doesn't necessarily come across as an antagonist to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was a great way to show Kirby's run in one issue. There's plenty of creatures in it. The drawing's amazing.
Yeah. And
I just figured it was probably the best pick.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to take a hold of that, and we're going back 50 years. It was 50 years ago this month, as a matter of fact, that this was released. So The Demon, Volume 1, issue number 7, we got this very intriguing cover there that I think is really good. And I like how back then they really busted the stories up into like chapters. And in chapter 1 and on page 1, we're starting right out with the action. We have the demon walking out into Jason Blood's off of his apartment, and he sees, this man that's kind of dressed like a pilgrim standing there. And we find out this is a character named the Judge, and he's looking for a fugitive. And he sends, as you see on this awesome splash page there, he sends this creature, the Draga, to attack Etrigan. And as the creature attacks, he ends up kind of cutting his throat. And Demon's in really bad shape, as you'll see on the next page there.
Oh, they kind of split that up. That's
yeah, they did. Yeah. So he's being attacked, and when this creature comes back to the Judge, they both kind of disappear in this cloud of smoke. And the demon's laying there. He's really weak, and he starts to hear this voice, and it's a younger boy that's introducing himself. And he says his name is Clarion. And he has this cat, this orange cat, Tickle. And the child knows all about Etrigan and starts to recite a spell that restores him to mortal form as Jason Blood. So we cross over into chapter number 2 right now. So there we have Harry, and he's calling in to see what's happened to Jason. He finds this creepy kid watching over him. And Clarion kind of refers to him as a cousin and says that Jason needs help. Mm-hmm. Harry sees the scratches on his neck, and he's kind of wondering what's going on about that. And Clarion explains that Tickle is able to see death and can prevent it. So the cat goes up and starts pawing a little bit at his neck. And Harry starts not really believing what's going on. So he grabs the cat away from him. There's a little bit of a tussle going on. But right then, Jason Blood wakes up wondering what's going on. And they see that his wounds are healing. And Harry's kind of taken back by that a little bit. And then Jason's taken back because he doesn't know of any living relatives, so he's confused on how he's supposed to be related to this boy that he's never seen before. And the boy continues to kind of prove himself a little bit. For an example, there was a refrigerator that wasn't stocked at all, and he does a little bit of magic or whatever. Next thing you know, their fridge is fully stocked.
That's a sweet trick. I want that one.
Yeah, exactly. Saves
especially with the eggs.
Yeah, exactly.
The little kid do that, right?
So then Tico starts warning them that there's something approaching, and it's not going to be something good. And they realize it's coming from a different dimension, and it seems that Clarion seems to have an idea of who or what it could be. And they start to get partly into our dimension when Clarion's able to unleash a burst of flames to stop them, but it starts to burn the kitchen a little bit. And Harry's pretty shaken. Jason wisely stays on the witch boy's good side and offers him refuge, and Clarion promises to be good while his relatives go out to a party. So that brings us to the beginning of chapter number 3. We're at this party, and Harry enters the room, and he's talking all about his latest encounter with the supernatural. Now, some of their friends there don't believe what's going on, and they're kind of laughing at him about the absurdity. And then all of a sudden, Sidney falls into this trance, and he takes the punch bowl, and he picks it up, turns it over, and dumps it on his head. And that kind of snaps him out of what's going on, and he accuses Jason of hypnotizing him. And Sid demands to see real magic, challenging a demonologist to produce a real demon. So the influence that took a hold of Sid kind of manipulates Jason, and he doubles over as his transformation starts to kick off there. And, the other people don't know what's going on. Well, they quickly move him out of the room so he can fully form into Etrigan. And then the demon is there, and just in time to, he's summoned by a desperate plea. So he leaps out, he lands on top of a taxi cab there on the next page, and he starts heading somewhere, but he gets attacked by more of these demons. And he seems to be unfamiliar with them, but he fights them off. He knows he has to get to whatever force has kind of called him. And he's actually making his way back to Jason Blood's apartment. But we see we got this great battle that's going on between the demon and these creatures. And eventually, now his friends know that they need to get back to the apartment as well. They kind of had a vision. That's Harry and Randu. So they're heading back to Jason Blood's apartment. That's where Jason Blood's heading to, or excuse me, the demon's arriving. But when those two get to the apartment, they go in, they see all these other creatures that they've never seen before. And then they see Clarion, and he's tied up, and he's hung upside down, and he's the only one they kind of recognize. The demon appears into the apartment, and all these witch folk type people are encircling around Clarion, and demon uses their own hex sign against them, which starts to send them back into the mist, into this world where they came from. And they realize that they're going away as well. So Clarion starts to say how he has the power to control the demon now. And Demon kind of plays along with this enough to get close enough to Clarion and the cat, and he wraps them both around his cape. And when he does, poof, they're gone. So Clarion didn't have control of the demon, but he's able to contact him when he's in trouble. And so when Etrigan put this cloak around them, they disappeared into a puff of smoke, and they were banished into another dimension. And that's kind of how this story wraps up. So an interesting first appearance for this character.
Yeah, I'd say for sure.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that he's kind of like not like a good guy, maybe like an anti person.
Yeah. But it goes on. It kind of shows that Etrigan is indebted to the Witch Boy.
Yeah, exactly.
So it kind of complicates their relationship moving forward, and his antagonistic ways. They kind of seem ephemeral through all his future appearances.
Yeah, and how many appearances would he make? Because I know Demon wasn't that long of a running of a series.
In that first series?
Yeah.
Only a few. I think Morgan Le Fay
Mm-hmm.
has more appearances.
Gotcha.
But it's funny because the cover shows them fighting, right? Well,
Yeah.
he's trying to control the demon.
Yeah. Great cover. It was a fun story to read.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dave, you're going to handle the second book that you picked. Tell us why you picked this book, what the book is, and why you picked it.
So I picked, it's the third part of 3 in the Swamp Thing series, the second Swamp Thing series by Alan Moore. Alan Moore, in my opinion, is one of the best DC writers that ever was. And it was penciled by Steve Bissett and John Totleben, I believe his name is. I think Moore just brings back the Kirby demon that we love, that readers, I believe, love, because so towards the end of the first series, his rhyming it stopped. It
Yeah.
just kind of disappeared. I don't know if Kirby really just wasn't feeling it, but he just kind of stopped and started and eventually petered out. And then Moore was the one that brought it back and made it really, really good. And I just think this is a great. I picked the third one because it has pretty much the demon all the way through the issue.
Awesome. Well, let's
But
kick off your review then.
yeah, so I can give a bit of a prelude from the other 2 issues first. So Jason Blood, he's in Louisiana. He's giving predictions of doom to the locals. Abby Cable is having marital issues with her husband Matt. Abby becomes a teacher of autistic children. She meets Paul, who's one of the children, who believes that the Monkey King will kill children who spell words wrong. And the Monkey King actually appeared, I believe, for the first time in issue 4 of the first Demon series. He comes from hell. Paul's parents brought the Monkey King from hell with a Ouija board, and Jason Blood finds the same Ouija board, and knowing what it was used for. Jason warns Abby of the danger that Paul brings. He also confides in her his dual personality and Etrigan to help her process all the weirdness that she's experiencing. All the children in the school start drawing horrifying monkeys, and Paul explains that it's the Monkey King. Abby tries to get Matt to help her, that's her husband, with all the kids, but he refuses, so she runs to the swamp to have Swamp Thing help her instead. They arrive at the school, and the Monkey King is terrifying the children. Etrigan watches from above and bursts through the skylight to attack the creature. And her husband, Matt, drives drunk to help her and actually crashes. So issue 27 starts off where Etrigan is fighting the Monkey King, and a beautiful art. I mean, I just love it's slightly different. Bissett kind of brings a different touch than Kirby does. And the Monkey King is just crazy looking. Definitely something from hell. Even I don't know, the art is really mysterious and bizarre, and it brings out the horror in this story really well. So the Swamp Thing tells Abby to take Paul, the autistic boy, to the swamp. And there we have Swamp Thing coming in, and he took the Monkey King takes an interest in the boy, and he kind of acts like the boy is his master. And then we have more fight sequences. The Etrigan kind of disappeared, and Swamp Thing's kind of fighting the Monkey King there to allow her to escape. She says there's two monsters here because she doesn't really know Etrigan all that well, and obviously the Monkey King is a monster, but Swamp Thing says there's actually three. There's three monsters because he includes himself.
Oh, gotcha.
Meanwhile, her husband Matt has crashed his car and he's all screwed up. And there's a weird giant fly. It's really horrific. And it basically tells him, look, you're going to bleed to death in about an hour. So if you do something for me, I'll stop you from dying. And we find out in a little bit what that something is. Abby runs off with Paul, and Etrigan finds them. And his idea is, well, because Etrigan is really very mischievous, he doesn't really worry about bystanders, or he's a hero in a way, but they're casualties, and he doesn't mind that. So he thinks he'll just kill the boy, and that'll make things go away. It'll just solve the problem. So he tries, and Abby says, no, don't do it. And then, let's see, I wrote some notes to help me here. Swamp Thing comes along. That's right. Oh, there's so much fight sequences in this issue. So the Swamp Thing comes and stops him, but he allows the Monkey King to reach Abby and Paul. Etrigan tears Swamp Thing's arm off, and he just sticks it back on. We all know it doesn't worry him at all. It just mends. So while they're fighting, Abby runs off with Paul again, and the Monkey King follows them. And then we go back to her husband, who's dying, losing blood, and this fly has said, okay, I'm really weird, but this is going to be fine. Just let me do this one thing. And he says, basically, open your mouth and let me climb inside your body. So you see a pretty gross little sequence there of the fly crawling in his mouth.
That's yuck.
It's gross, yeah.
All I know is if you say that at a singles bar, you're going to get slapped.
Anyway, back to Abby and Paul. The Monkey King's there, and the Monkey King forms like it. He changes form to look like Abby's husband. And the boy's like, no, stop that. And the boy just starts yelling at the Monkey King. He's not scared of him, and he feels like he's in control. So he keeps yelling at the Monkey King, and somehow the more he yells at it and belittles it, it actually gets smaller. And he keeps belittling it, and it gets smaller and smaller. And eventually it becomes the size of a bug, and it's in his hands, and Etrigan just grabs it, throws it in his mouth. And he's like, all right, he's trapped.
Yeah.
Done. We did it.
It's pretty unique.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Etrigan says, whatever Paul's parents did to summon the Monkey Prince is a problem, and it's a problem that Abby must face. Etrigan disappears, and Abby runs after him because she didn't really understand what he meant. But she feels like he has a solution and that she's got to deal with it, and she doesn't really know what to do. She asks the Swamp Thing, and he doesn't really know. The Swamp Thing and Paul just kind of wander off into the swamp together and chat about life. And then we see Abby find Etrigan, but he is now turned into Jason Blood. And she kind of freaked out about that, but he comforts her, and he's like, well, this This is just something that happens with me. You know, I have a dual personality. But whatever, I don't know what the demon said, but whatever he said, it's probably truth. And he has wisdom far beyond, you know, what we have. So whatever he said, I would believe it. So that kind of ends the story. The swamp thing, and goes off into the swamp. And then Abby's husband drives on by. He's all mended. How about that? Something that's set up for the next issue. It doesn't have Etrigan in it, but it kind of sets up the weirdness of that story. And it actually said right at the end there that it was dedicated, this book was dedicated to Jack Kirby.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
With awe and affection, it said.
That's cool. So one thing that I noticed in that issue that you just reviewed are all of the contrasting colors, but how they complement each other. You know, even the demon fighting Swamp Thing with the greens and the reds. It's the coloring on that just seemed real fantastic. I mean, a solid story, but very great coloring on it too.
Yeah, the colorist was Tatiana Wood.
Oh, she's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, very enjoyable.
So Tony's going to take her final book, but first set us up again. Tell us what book it is and why you chose it.
So the next book, we didn't see much of Demon outside of his, you know, series. The first series, then there was some appearances in The Brave and Bold, and then Swamp Thing, as we saw. And then I think John Byrne did an issue. And then Matt Wagner brought us a great miniseries at the end of the 80s. And it really brought back the same kind of demon that we love. And he really brought out the great things that that Moore brought back to him. And it also showed a lot of that duality between Jason Blood and Etrigan.
Nice.
So it was the miniseries that set things up to then go into the early 90s, and I think it's the third series, because I mean it's only the second ongoing series, because Matt Wagner's is a miniseries, but I still consider it the third series.
Yeah. Okay, Tony, take it away.
Well, I'm having a trouble bringing it up. I mean, I found it,
okay,
but there's an ad that I think you might get in trouble for if I show it.
Yeah, we don't want that.
So I'm going to go ahead and play it safe and not do it. But I mean, I don't have this copy, but if someone else does and wants to share, feel free. But so this is The Demon, Volume 2, Issue 1. Yep, that's it. Perfect. Okay, someone's got it. Good job. After reading this is more of a Jason Blood story than it is an Etrigan story. Of course, Etrigan's in it, but it mostly deals with Jason Blood and his struggles to live his life, and you know, have this demon inside of him and kind of uncontrolled. Both of myself. So yeah, we start off here, Chapter 1, Demon, Chapter 1. Direction from the Darkness. So this is Matt Wagner on the pencils, Art Nicholas on Eaker, and John, how did you say his name? Costanza on the letters? Okay. Created by Jack Kirby, Lyman, the editor. So here, I think this takes place, like now that we've read your issue, I think this takes place somewhere close, because it talks about the events in Louisiana.
Right.
So, so we're going to, for the sense of this story, assume that that's true. So talking about, hey, you know, what happened in Louisiana, and Jason's giving her kind of the 411 on, you know, what happened, and, you know, the swamp thing and all that good stuff, and how he managed to defeat this demon. And then she's like, you know, what is her name? Lou? Her name, I think her name is Lou. No, Glenda. Glenda. I don't know where I got Lou. But anyway, so him and Glenda are chatting about Etrigan, and she's like, how can you control it? Like, can you just call it? Like, what's it? He's like, I used to, but now it just seems to like just kind of do whatever the heck it wants when it senses danger. Um, yeah, that's a great panel right there. We're getting close to a couple really good ones. And they're supposed to be, I guess, going out for the evening. And he's like, you know what? Give me a minute. So as he in true form right there, gone, will form a man and give rise to the demon. And I guess she's kind of trying to help him. And he's like, Etrigan. He's like, oh, yeah. One thing I did notice about all three of the stories that we did, each rhyme to go from Jason Blood to the demon was different. And I think this last story has the current one, be gone, the form of man, give rise to the demon Etrigan, which I think is the current one they still use. But I noticed that the Etrigan in this story is lost a little bit of weight. I'm not sure what that's about. I guess that's what you get when you swallow a demon. Kind of, messes with your digestive tract a little bit. But she has him kind of like trapped in this. I don't know what you call it, some kind of bubble or something, under some kind of light he can't really escape from, and she's trying to help him or interrogate him, but she has some kind of special like stone. It's the Philosopher's Stone. Those of you Magic Merlin's fans,
like she's Harry Potter.
Yes, or Harry Potter. You're right. And he's like, listen, lady, you can try, but I'm not going to give you anything. Well, actually, she uses the Philosopher's Stone and makes like a stone copy of a loved one or something. I'm not sure who that is. It doesn't really say. When she uses the Philosopher's Stone, it just kind of appears just like that.
It's not Morgan Le Fay, right? I don't think
that.
I don't think it's Morgan Le Fay.
No, it's not. It's not Morgan. I think it's someone in Etrigan's past. But that's okay. She manages to convince him to come back as Jason Blood. They talk about their experience. And one of the first things he says when he comes back, I thought was really funny. Now, how'd the statue get here? Of all the things, he lost this huge track of time, and that's the one thing he's worried about. Like, hey, where'd that come from? Which I always thought was pretty cool. And then we get a brief sequence of them traveling to, it did say, but I can't remember where it is. I want to say somewhere in Ireland.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I want to say Ireland, but they basically go find this secret cave that looked like it belonged to some pagan cult, because there's a lot of pagan symbolism, and it's old, it's run down, looks like it's super old. It's funny. One of the statues they thought of was a statue, talks to them, and easy, messy, clutcher, easy. Yeah, it just keeps repeating easy, messy, clutcher over and over again. Missy, clutcher, so that's pretty funny. It says like 5 words. He kind of knocks Jason off to the side to go after Glenda, and he says, clutcher like, and he says, be gone, the form of man, chew on the face, and rise the demon Etrigan. And then him and this monster thing fight. And that kind of ends the issue.
Yeah, I got serious Grendel vibes from this miniseries.
But I thought that was the best rhyme at the end. Be gone, the form of man, and chew on the face, give rise to the demon Etrigan.
Nice.
And he looked like he's probably going to chew on his face.
Yeah. Let's say a meow to the Jackson Roykirk who's joined us, and a hello to Gore, who's here. Thank you guys for stopping by. So looking at these 3 issues, let's go around and just general thoughts, general feelings, and out of a 5 scale, 5 being the best, give it a number. Tony, why don't we start with you?
As a character as a whole, Etrigan is definitely in my top 10. In fact, Demon number 1 is high on my grail list. But I really want to find a very nice, good
Mine's
copy
real
of it. Yeah, there you go. Look at the colors on that thing. Look how great that
that's
thing
awesome.
pops. So,
amazing.
yeah,
Mine's probably about an 8. It's a little beat.
that's still good for
that's good.
what it is. The stories, I wasn't too familiar with the stories, so they don't get a whole lot for nostalgia. But I liked them. I really enjoyed them. So 3.5 out of 5 for sure.
Okay, awesome. Kachoong, your thoughts and a grade.
Yeah. So the first one with Clarion, I'd probably give it a 3.5 overall. I really love that it brings Clarion into the mix. The Alan Moore one is probably the best one of the 3. There's a lot of action and a lot of deep story and definitely horror elements, which I love about that part of the Demon, that it can be horror and he's something to fear. So definitely probably about a 4 for that. And then the Matt Wagner series, I also love. There's not as much action, and it does get better. So if you do find that series, grab it. As a whole, it's a really good Demon story. That's probably somewhere in between. I guess 3.75.
Okay, cool. I enjoyed the story. I agree with you. I think the Swamp Thing story out of the 3 that we looked at probably was the strongest. And like I said, even it drew me to pay attention to the coloring and the contrast on there, which sometimes, the colors gets forgotten about. And it wasn't overpowering, but it was just such a great compliment to a compelling story. But overall, I'm going to give these 3 stories a 4 out of 5, just in a general. I thought it was fun. It's something different. It's a character that doesn't get enough recognition, I think. When I first started reading, because I hadn't read these before, but in my book especially, and there was no rhyming in my book by the Demon, I was like, okay, what's going on with that? And I know that you talked a little bit about that. So that kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop. But like I said, overall, I think it's a good character that doesn't get enough credit or recognition. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, the rhyming is something that's pretty contentious. I think Len Wein, is it Len Wein or Len Wein?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He and Alan Moore really love the rhyming, but someone like John Byrne doesn't as much. And there's actually this one, Superman. This is a John Byrne book.
Yep.
And there's no rhyming in it. And I didn't enjoy it because of that. But it's
it's a great cover, though.
Yeah, it's a cool cover.
Yeah. So as we head into the book show portion, Dave, do you have some more books to show us, or some stuff to tell us a little bit about? And also, too, tell us if you have anything coming up on your channel.
Oh, there's nothing coming up on our channel.
Okay. All right. The link is still in the description for this video, though, so you can still subscribe in case future stuff's coming. But anyway, go ahead, show us some books.
Here's a couple of
wow,
Brave and Bold.
Look at that.
So these occur after the first series. This one is, the 20-cent circles, so that's pretty much early to mid. I think it actually came out while like issue 9 or 10 of the first series had come out.
Yeah.
And then this one,
I go ahead and talk about that one, but then I want to say something about that 35 center. But you were about to say something.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat story. The antagonist really only appears in this book. I think they could have done more with the character. He appears and he dies in the same story. But it's really good. It's a good one to find. I don't see many out there. And then this one is where he turns Batman into a man bat.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. What I wanted to say about that cover, do you know about the rare version of that book?
What was that?
Do you know about the rare version of that Brave and the Bold that with Man? Do you know about that?
No.
There is a version out there where some of it, if not all of it, is not colored. And it actually got published and made it into circulation.
Wow. I'm pretty sure mine is colored.
No, it's on the cover. The cover's
Oh,
uncolored.
the cover.
Yeah, the cover's uncolored.
How about that?
Yeah, and it made it into circulation, this incredibly rare error version of it.
Yeah, this is.
And I know it's one of the rarest comic books out there, but it does exist.
That's neat.
Yeah, that's crazy. So great picks, though, for a book show. I love that.
This is the third series.
Yeah.
Alan Grant. This number 2. Number 1 is somewhere. I think I have it. It's around somewhere. He brings Lobo into the fray a few times.
Oh, what an interesting combination.
They get together quite a lot, and actually, there's Lobo comes into the Demon series, and then Etrigan goes into the Lobo series a few times. And those ones near the end of the Lobo series are really hard to find because they didn't print many.
Gotcha.
So the last story, I think, is with Etrigan, and that's hard to find. That's The Blood of the Demon.
Nice.
A neat little story. And then he appears in Demon Knights further down in like the mid 2000s.
Looks like somebody signed that book.
Yeah, I know. I found this at Half Price Books.
Oh, nice.
It was Bernard Chang.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's a good one to have. Yeah.
Yeah. It was $1.
$1. You hear that, Tony? $1.
His signature is like $5, so maybe you should hold on to
And
it.
then he's in the Rain in Hell series. It's an 8-issue miniseries, which has a bunch of different characters in it, even Dr. Fate. So
That's a good one. Keith Giffen really knocked that one out of the park.
Giffen, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's amazing. There's another cool cover with Etrigan on it.
And Blue Devil. You haven't seen too
And
much of
then
him.
the only cover appearance of Super Demon
Oh, wow.
Yep.
in a Superman book. And he's from some Earth, whichever number, I'm not sure.
13.
13?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if he appears really anywhere else, but I think he appeared just recently in the DC series. It started with an I. It was like a 5-issue miniseries.
Justice League Incarnate.
Incarnate, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe he appeared in that.
God, why do I know all that?
Super Demon looks to me like an action figure that needs to happen.
Yes. And then, Driven Out. That's
Oh, wow.
a 6-issue miniseries. So he has a lot of miniseries. He has more series than Dr. Fate does. And Dr. Fate is, over 80 years old.
Yeah. Wow. Some good stuff there.
Yeah.
Tony, I'm actually going to go next. So,
Go for it, man.
Talking about my channel, what's coming up, tomorrow there'll be another back issue of the week YouTube short. I'm saluting Women's History Month, and I have another DC lady in the spotlight. Now, 2 weeks ago, I did a Marvel lady this past week, but 2 weeks ago when we featured Lois Lane, that got 1K views, which I was very happy to see Lois Lane getting some love. And another DC lady will take the spotlight. It might not be the one that you usually associate with my name, but it's a different one. But that's coming up. On Tuesday, I'm dropping a video, Comic Book Editions video, and I'm going to talk about meeting Comic Fu this past Friday and show you some of the books that I picked up when I was with Fu. I have an AOK from Comic Fu, and I have an AOK from NX7062 that I'm going to share in the video Tuesday, providing I finish editing that before Tuesday. But that's on the schedule coming up. This past week, I dropped a Comic Book Editions video, another spectacular Spider Haul, some Spider-Man comic books I picked up. So one of the books that you see in Kachoong's background, I'm showing as my book show. Oh, yeah, there's his background. And I'm showing as part of my book show. And the Demon made a 3-issue storyline appearance in Wonder Woman, starting with issue 280. Great cover there. Then following it up with 281.
Awesome.
And 282. And I even love the Huntress portion of the cover on this too. Some good solid stuff. So Demon would come back in volume 2 of Wonder Woman during the John Byrne era. And they did another crossover part 2. And that was a very good storyline to read too. I wouldn't call it an homage, so to speak, story-wise, but it was kind of an homage just to the fact that the Demon was in the original Wonder Woman as a guest star. So he got brought back, in volume 2 as a guest star. And I thought that was kind of neat too. Interesting characters too. And that's not the only time that we've seen the two of them together. There's a Demon issue from a few years back in his own title with Wonder Woman guest starring in too. So I thought that was a fun little characters to mix together. So Tony, what do you have? What's going on in your channel, and what do you have for book show?
Yeah, I'm actually going to pop this up real quick. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. For those of you who are unaware, check out Earth 13 in the DC universe. It is an Earth that's all magic. Everything is magic. And in your case, you were talking about Super Demon. Same kind of backstory, but he comes from, instead of Krypton, he comes from a faraway planet called Camelot. Lands on Earth, and forms, a Justice League. But in this case, it's the League of Shadows. It includes Hellblazer, Zatanna, but her name's backwards. So I don't know how you're going to say that. Witch Boy, Swamp Man, Fate, Ragman, Deadman, and Enchantress.
No way.
Yeah.
Why have I not heard of this?
Earth, if you're into magic, Earth 13 is where the party's at.
Oh man.
Some good stuff comes out of 13. I used to be huge into the multiverse, so I know someone could say Earth this, and I'd be like, oh, that's this Earth, but I don't know if I can do that anymore. But anyway, coming up on my channel, I was at a recent convention, not comic convention, and I stumbled across a pack of these Batman 89 trading cards.
What?
So I was like, okay. So
Keep my Batman.
Yeah, so I bought a couple, and I have an unboxing coming out probably tomorrow. So stay tuned if you're interested in what I got. So as for book show, I went all magic. We got the first appearance of Nightmaster, big Shadow Pack guy.
Oh wow.
Ragman. The first solo title for Madame Xanadu. The first solo Spectre.
Oh, nice.
Second appearance of Zatanna. And first solo Zatanna.
Oh, I love that book.
I do too. I want that book.
I'll get that book, and it'll go straight into my wife's collection.
Well, you just got to buy 2 then.
Yep.
But this is probably going to be my next big submission to CBCS at some point. I don't have a time frame, but just because it's right here, there's a lot of power in the DC universe. So that's why I need a Demon #1 in here.
Yeah, you do.
And a Doorway to Nightmare. I mean, I have the first solo in title, Madame Xanadu, but I got to get Doorway to Nightmare #1 to complement this thing.
Yeah. How is that book, by the way? Because I've never read that story, but you remember when we were talking about the character a few weeks ago, I said I was pretty intrigued by it.
It's good. Keep in mind, she's not like a street level hero. She's, I would classify her as logistical support for Justice League Dark,
Gotcha.
So it's a little bit slower pace than some of the stuff. But if you're okay with that, then I highly recommend it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I have. I got a suggestion to add to that stack. If you want a good Dr. Fate book, is his first solo book is first issue special #9.
I have it.
Put it in that stack because that is classic magic right there. It's oh yes, look at that. It's so hard to find in high grade.
This
Really.
is a super high grade. Like I recently picked this up this week, and I was
I'm
looking
jealous.
at it. I think I got a serious candidate for at least a 9,
That's
maybe
Nice.
awesome.
9.2.
I have 5 copies, and I don't think any are higher than about 9.4.
Yeah, I'd be lucky if I could get a 9.4, but this is in fabulous shape. I think in highest I could get was a 9.4.
So an interesting tidbit with that is that's the first. It was drawn by Walt Simonson.
Yep.
He's the first person that brought the Ankh into his power visuals.
Yep.
Like he was the first person to draw the Ankh as part of his powers. So
Still a very affordable key for anyone out there. You can find this one
absolutely,
easy for under $50.
yeah.
For sure. And I picked up 2 of them, and they had 2 huge price differences. This one was like 20 something, and the other one was like 12.
Oh,
So I'm looking at them, and I'm looking at the spine. I'm like looking at it. I was like, "Hey, can I open this up? I'm curious as the price difference." And he's like, "Oh yeah, turn to page 7 or whatever." I flipped it open, and someone had drawn several male genitalias all over the page. I was
oh
like,
my god,
okay, I guess I'll take the other one.
that's not a
Alright.
9.8.
No, it's not a 9.8.
So Gore's asking, is that one drawn by Simonson or is it Kevin?
I think it's Simonson.
Yep.
I know Joe Kubert did the cover.
Yeah, it's a cubic cover. Yeah.
Okay. It's a great cover.
But yeah, I got that one. That one's going in the pile. Magic books.
Nice.
Nice. That's awesome. I do want to answer Gore's other question too. Thoughts about Tom King writing Wonder Woman. I think that it's going to increase sales, which is what DC Comics wants. That being said, I do think that Michael Conrad and Becky Cloonan have done a great job during their run. I'm sad to see that end because I've enjoyed what they've done with the characters so much.
Well, don't you
but
think your opinion is slightly biased on them?
It is a little bit because they've been so nice to me.
I was going to say they're very nice people.
Yeah, they are.
I met Becky before. She's very nice.
Yeah. So, am I going to buy it? Of course.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, of course I'm going to buy it. I'm going to give it a fair shot. I mean, I actually have enjoyed a lot of Tom King stuff. I know some people don't. He's a little too woke for some people, and that's okay. We'll see. The only thing that I'm really down on, I'm not happy that we're restarting with a number 1. I'm just done with that.
I have mixed feelings about it. I think, one, thank God it's going to be number 1 because my drawers are only so deep. I'm going to have to move somebody over to start that row again.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it's a number 1 in that aspect, but I also agree with you.
Well, because they returned to legacy numbering, right?
They did with 750.
And then
so we got 50 issues of that, of legacy numbering, and now we're
you think they would go to 1,000. Like, I thought they were going to bring Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash up to 1K. You know,
I'm sure when it gets around that time they'll move it back, but I just 801 is fine for a starting point, you know? It is.
We'll see.
I don't know. Well, as we come to the end of another Fanboys Live in the Retro Review, Dave Kachoong, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time. Tell Delphia hi for me and for Tony. And Gore's asking who's drawing, and that's Daniel. Is it Daniel Sampier?
I thought it was Sampray or something.
Sampray. Okay.
I know who you're talking about, but
that's who it is. He's a great artist.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time. Once again, there's still links in the YouTube, even if he's not currently putting out wherever you are. Even if he's not currently putting out content, you can subscribe and enjoy what's out there already and then be ready for when new stuff comes up. Links to all of the fanboys are in the description for this video. I had a blast hanging out with you, and I hope that you'll come back and do our show again.
Sure.
Awesome.
Love to.
Great. And thank you, especially if you're watching on the rewind, for making it all the way to the end. Certainly do appreciate you. Next week, the greatest DC comic show on YouTube returns. Fanboys Live in the Retro Review will welcome Black Swamp Comics back to the show. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think there's a little Swamp Thing planned for next week, I believe. So check that out. Until then, have a fantastic week and take care. Bye.